All right, today we're jumping into something really special. This isn't some financial theory from a textbook. Nope. This is a real life story, a case study, really, about discipline, about having a long term vision, and, the surprising reality of what it takes to live completely off of passive income. So let's dive right in. So, this number right here, this is the heart of our entire story today, $667.33. Now, that's not a weekly budget. That is the entire monthly expense for someone who is retired. And get this, they're living in Singapore, which is, as you probably know, one of the most expensive cities in the entire world. So I've got to ask, could you live on that much a month? Especially in retirement? I mean, it sounds kind of impossible, right? But that's what we're here to do. We're going to peel back all the layers of this story and see exactly how this is a real person's reality. We'll break down the choices they made, the history behind it, and the strategy that makes a number like that even work. Okay, so the big question is, how on earth is this possible? Well, the answer really begins with the spending. If we want to understand the end result, we first have to look at the day-to-day habits that make it all happen. And here's what's so cool about this story. We're not just guessing or dealing with hypotheticals. We are looking at the actual expense report that this person shared online. This is the real deal, raw data, and it gives us this perfect, unfiltered window into their financial life. So when you look at the breakdown, the spending hierarchy is just crystal clear. Groceries, I mean, look at that. It makes up the vast majority, we're talking more than half, of the entire monthly budget. And you know what? That one single data point tells you so much of the story right there. This is a lifestyle that is completely centered around cooking at home, not going out to fancy restaurants or spending a ton on entertainment. And this is where you really see the conscious choices behind those numbers. Okay, so cooking 3 meals a day, that directly explains that big grocery bill. And, of course, the $0 restaurant budget. Conserving electricity, and even, get this, washing clothes by hand, shows a level of discipline that is just wow. But let's be real, the two biggest game changers here are structural. First, no rent, they own their home. And second, no private insurance premiums. For most of us, those two things are massive, massive expenses that are just completely off the table for this person. Okay, so we've seen how the spending works, but honestly, that's only half the story. A lifestyle this frugal doesn't just happen by accident, It's built on a foundation, one that was laid over decades. So let's take a look at exactly how that foundation was built. And this is such a crucial point to understand. This person's financial freedom didn't come from some lucky stock pick or a winning lottery ticket. No, it was the direct result of almost 4 decades of just consistent work and saving. It is the absolute definition of a marathon, not a sprint. This timeline right here, it just maps out that entire journey. It starts way back in 1985 as a national serviceman, then moves through different roles at major Singaporean companies, all the way up to retiring in 2024. You can see how each of these jobs was just another step, another brick in the wall, providing the capital they'd need for the future. And again, this is the actual work history. There's nothing particularly glamorous or flashy here. It's really just a portrait of pure, unadulterated dedication. This is the kind of consistency that generates the seed money, the capital that would eventually grow into a really powerful investment portfolio. Okay, so the paychecks have stopped coming in. That 39-year career is officially over. So what's funding this $667 a month lifestyle now? Well, let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that's driving this whole retirement. The investment strategy is actually surprisingly straightforward. It's built on just 3 core pillars. First, you've got unit trusts. Think of those as baskets of different investments that help spread out the risk. Second, high dividend stocks, which are great because they pay you out regular cash. And third, for stability, Singapore savings bonds. It's a really balanced approach, right? It's not designed for huge, risky gains, but for reliable, steady income. And that's the key. And that's what we're talking about when we say passive income. That reliable, steady cash flow. The goal is so simple, really. You want your money to work for you, generating a stream of cash that pays for your life without you having to go to a 9-to-5 job. It's the absolute end game, the whole point of financial independence. All right, this is the moment. This is where we connect all the dots. We've seen the incredibly low spending, right? And we've seen the investment strategy that makes the money. So now let's put those two things side by side because this is where the story gets really, really powerful. Just look at this comparison. It's amazing. On one side, you have the monthly expenses we've been talking about, $667. But on the other side, the monthly passive income that their portfolio is generating, around $2,245. That gap, the space between those two numbers, that is everything. And this number is the result of that huge gap, just under 30%. If there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. They only need to spend less than 30% of the money their investments make just to live. That single number, that's the ultimate measure of real financial security. It's incredible. So let's give this a name. Let's call it the financial freedom ratio. Honestly, this is the metric that really matters. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how little of that money you actually need to live. The lower this ratio goes, the safer you are. You're more insulated from stock market crashes, from inflation, from any unexpected emergency that life throws at you. This is what financial resilience looks like. So you're probably wondering what happens to that other 70%, that huge surplus? Well, it's not just sitting in a bank account gathering dust. It gets put right back to work. It's reinvested into the portfolio. And what that means is their wealth isn't just paying the bills. It's actively growing while they're retired. That passive income machine just gets stronger and stronger every single month. And, if you wanted to boil this entire journey, all those decades, down to a single sentence, this is it. This comes directly from the person who lived it. This is their core philosophy. Increase income, reduce unnecessary expenses, and rapidly increase reliable investments. It's as simple and, let's be honest, as difficult as that. So as we wrap this up, the story really leaves us all with a question to think about. Look, you might not be able to get rid of your rent or start washing your clothes by hand tomorrow. I get that. But what this story forces us to ask ourselves is, what's the one thing in our own budget that's holding us back? What's one single change we could make starting today to start lowering our own financial freedom ratio? It's definitely something to think about.